Hello everyone, I'm China. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through an entire week in my planner so that you can see how I use the B6 Sterling Ink Common Planner to stay organized and to be productive. The material that I'm going to be using for today's setup is this 0.38 Muji pen, this Tombow Funisuke hard tip brush pen, and then a Tombow dual tip brush pen. So the first thing that I'm going to do is kind of insignificant, but I like the way it makes the page look, is just write the month in script on top of that tiny little calendar that's on the left side of the page. There's no reason for it. I just like what it looks like, and I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer for the rest of today's video so you can see what I'm working on. So now I'm going to draw a horizontal line through the top of the page. On the actual planner, you'll see that the timed on the vertical starts about 2 to 3 squares down. So I like to use this space to track the weather for the week. I find that this is a good way to help me just make my plans for the rest of the week. If I want to do a hike or something and I see that it's raining on Saturday, I might want to move that to another day. So, what I do is I just draw a little doodle of whatever the weather is. If it's sunny, I'll draw a sun. If it's cloudy, I'll draw a cloud, rain, etc. And then I will put the temperature as well. And so I do that for the entire week. And I've always have seen people do this, and I never understood why you would want to track the weather, but now I see how beneficial and helpful it is. But if you don't want to use that top space to track the weather, you can do that for your step count. You can do that for your meals for the week. It's a nice space to have on your planner. So next I'm going to start with the sidebar, and I'm going to make two different sections that I'm going to highlight with the dual tip brush pen. The top is going to be for my weekly task list, in which I'll write task in a script font. And then the bottom section is going to be for my weekly habits, which I'll write habits with the script font. I find that using different fonts and pens helps to add some character to a very functional spread. So I'm going in now and I'm writing in my habits for the week. I journal. I like to do Duolingo. I'm trying to teach myself how to speak French. Also, take my daily vitamins, my medicine. So, these aren't necessarily things that I'm trying to accomplish, but most of this ends up being my nighttime routine. So, I will draw a habit or write a habit out and I'll skip a line. And now I'm going to work on the rest or the body of the spread. So, I first go in and I put my appointments for the week. I'd write the time with the Muji pen so that it's in a more lighter font. And then the actual event or meeting that I have, I use the hard tip brush pen for. And then I'll go through again with the Muji and I'll write a bracket. And this just helps me separate my plans or timed events from my to do list that will go on and any other items that I put on um, in my planner for the day. I will say that even though this is a timed vertical, I'll say that I do a like loose time blocking. So I don't necessarily have a 2 o'clock meeting next to 2 o'clock. But what I will do is make sure that if I have a 9 a.m. meeting and a 2 o'clock meeting and a 7 o'clock meeting, it is roughly in that order. This just allows me to leave space for a to do list, which I really like to add to my planner, as well as my step count you'll see later on in the video, as well as any memories and some decorations and stickers as well. So I just fast forward through putting in the rest of my schedule. You'll see that it all looks the same with the Muji pen for the top. And then for the actual event, it will have the um, darker text on the bottom. And I do use a sticker every Sunday. I have these church stickers from Planner Kate that I'm trying to get through. So I do add that on, and I'll just wrap up my schedule before I move on to the rest of the spread. We're almost finished with planning for the week. I really simplified or tried to simplify my planning routine, especially at the beginning of the week. So it usually takes me about 5 minutes, I'll say, when I'm not recording to write down all of my plans and set myself up for the week ahead. Lastly, I'm going to go in with some stickers. By now, I know how my schedule looks. I have some um, events that happen every week, and so I can kind of judge how much space I'm going to use up each day of the spread. So I did put a piggy bank sticker over one of the financial planning meetings that I have. And then I'm going to go in and I cut out one of these bowling stickers. This is a mallow from La La Land that I put over bowling that I have every Tuesday. And lastly, I'm going to go in with a little coffee sticker from the Wrong Wrong Bullet Journal sticker book. And yeah, that's going to be it. Very simple, just the essentials. And I will come back in a few days and show you how I fill the rest of the spread out. Good morning, friends. It is Tuesday morning. Got my little cup of coffee here, and we are on day 2 of the plan with me. And I am going to show you how I wrap up one day and then move on to the next. So, the first thing that I'm going to do is fill out my habits. And these habits are a lot of things that I do at the end of the day. So it's kind of like my nighttime routine. So I just put a check mark for one day. I kind of look at this as like Monday through Sunday, and the first box will be Monday. So I'm going to check off all the things that I did, and it did pretty well, except for I forgot to journal last night, which I'll catch up with that this morning. So I do my habits, and then I look at my to do list. So this wasn't here the last time that I set up my planner on Sunday with you all, but as the day goes on Monday, I put down all the things that I need to do and I want to get done. And so I'll write down the to do list and I'll show you, I'll do my to do list for today a little bit later. But I write down the item on my to do list and then I'll leave that column or this column blank. And once I completed the list, I'll put a check mark. And so I'm going to go through now and check the things that I did yesterday. And then I'll migrate things over from Monday that I did not do that I need to do into today. So um, I did do most of my to do list, but there are still a few things that I need to do today. So anything that I didn't finish today or didn't finish on Monday that I want to finish today or needs to be finished today, I'm going to put a little arrow over. And this is something that I have seen in some bullet journal videos. So I kind of adapted that from here where the little arrow means that I'm migrating it over into the next day. And then before I set up my to do list for today, I'm going to close Monday out, or this is what I call it, closing the day out. So, the typical structure of one of the vertical columns of my day, since I am a vertical planner, is that I'll have any type of meeting or activity or plan. And I showed how I set that up on Sunday. I'll have a to do list, and then I like to put down my step count. So I use, and then any blank space that I have in, I I will fill up with some washi tape or some stickers. So I kind of know how my week goes now. So I usually put a sticker up here at the top or leave a space for a sticker somewhere at my to do list. I don't have a lot of meetings on Monday. It's kind of slow. The week is just getting started. And then I usually have some type of blank space. So I'm going to write in my step count using this Tombow marker. And then I'm going to fill up some of that space also with a piece of washi. So I did 10,658 steps yesterday. I typically try to get 10,000 steps a day. It's not so much a goal, but the reason why I track my steps is because earlier this year, I did not know that I was like having a little little depression moment. And when I look back in my planner, I could see that my step count was incredibly low. I just wasn't moving my body as much as I usually do. And so for me, tracking my step count is not so much of like a fitness goal, but it's just a way that I can keep track of how I'm moving. And that's usually indicative of how I'm feeling. So I'm going to take up this space here. And I like to write the step count with this Tombow dual tip brush pen, and then I outline it with the Muji pen. And I don't take up too much space, but I think it just makes the spread more interesting at the end to write it this way. But if you want to track your steps, you don't have to write it in highlighter. You can just write it at the top. If you don't want to put your weather here at the top, using this for like a step count or your meals for the week, that's a great blank space for that as well. So I wrote the step count. I'm going to write steps underneath, and I try to like do a little staggered font just to make the spread a little bit more interesting. I think since I have transitioned from more of like a decorative stickers all over the place, doing my sticker spread first and then putting it in functionality later, to doing something that is more functional and then filling in some decorative elements later, I found that using different fonts, different pens, markers, and some small stickers really helps make the spread fun, but also still functional. All right, so my step count is in. I also want to write down that I took a walk. My dog and I took a walk yesterday. We took a pretty long one, and she's a little girl. She's a 8 month old now, French bulldog, and her legs are so tiny. So doing a really long walk is a feat. So I try to separate out when I have blocks of this really dark black text from the brush pen. So I'm going to write walk with Charlie, and I'm going to leave a space here, and that's where I'll put the washi in. And I tried to do something a little fun with the font. So using the more bold font for the activity, and then put the with the Muji with just to vary it. And then I have this washi tape here. I believe I got this from a pack on Amazon. I will try to link that below if I can find it. And I'm going to put this washi down just to fill up the space. I don't want it to be too cluttered, so I will not be putting washi on every day. I usually just put a strip of washi on each side of the spread. Um, and I'll probably fill up for the other days. If I don't have activities to do, I'll fill it up with some stickers or some handwriting. Sometimes I write down how I was feeling that day, but I try to limit the washi just so that it doesn't overwhelm the spread. I still like my spreads to look very clean and not too cluttered. All right, so I'm officially saying that Monday is done. I've gone through all of my to-do list. I've This meeting was canceled, so I do like to check or cross out meetings that I didn't have, and that's for me to reference later on if someone asks me, "Oh, when did you do this? When did you have this meeting? Did you complete this task?" I can look back at my planner and know exactly what happened. So Monday is done. We'll move on to Tuesday, and all I'm really going to do for Tuesday now is just start my to-do list and migrating things over. So, what I like to do is also vary where my to do lists are. Again, just to make the spread look very interesting and clean afterwards. I like to say that how I think about my planning now is that it's functional, in process, and then memory keeping at the end. So, I want it to be functional while I need it, but then I want it to look like I'm creating some memories and things afterwards when I look back. So I am probably going to put my to-do list here because it's a pretty big chunk of space. And I'm going to start by migrating some of the things over from Monday into Tuesday. So again, I'm going to leave this first column blank, and I'll start the item here. those are just two of the tasks that I needed to migrate it over. There are a few that I can do another day. And actually, what I think I might do is take things from a daily column and I'm going to put it actually on this weekly task list because this just needs to be done during the week, but it doesn't necessarily need to be done on a certain day. So that is something that I do here. These tasks don't have any day specific items, so they go on the taskbar. And then the things that need to be done on a specific day get assigned to that day. So I'm going to just add a few more things onto my to-do list. Okay, and so this is what my to-do list is looking like so far. It can change, I can add things, I'll take things off. I didn't have anything here, but if there's something that I just don't need to do anymore, I'll just put an X in that column instead of a check mark or the caret arrow. So this is what mornings typically look like for me. I like to start out my day organized and with a plan going into work. And then I come back the following day and do the same thing. So I will probably come back a little later on in the week because this process just continues from one day to the next. But when I go into the weekend, I tend to have less tasks, and that's when I start to add things like photos and memories. So I will see you a little later. Bye. Good morning. It is Saturday, November 1st, so happy November. And this is the kind of third installment in the weekly plan with me or plan throughout my week. We last chatted on Tuesday, October 28th, and I showed how I close out one day and move on to the next. And I essentially continue the process throughout the week. I make my to do list, check off things that I have completed, and then put a caret on things that are going to be migrated over into the next day or cross out things that I just don't need to do anymore. I continue to fill in my habits for the week with a check mark for when I've completed them, and then try to work on my weekly task list. That can be the same, but are oftentimes different than things that need to be done on a particular day. So today, while we did a lot of functional things on Tuesday, I'm going to show you how I fill up some of the white space towards the end of the week because it is Saturday. I do have a to-do list, so we'll start to check off some of the things that I've already have accomplished today. But I typically don't do too much structured planning on the weekend, so I try to use the space that I have here as an opportunity to do some memory planning and some decoration if possible. And what I want to do though is fill up this space here. I went to dinner with a friend of mine. It was like a paired wine tasting, and then they had like specific meals that they made with it. It was really, really good. So I'm going to cut out one of these stickers here. This is from the Planner Shack, and these are printables from Etsy, and they're cute. They're just like little, I guess you could say, emoji heads, and similar to a lot of things I get, I like when the stickers are customizable. So you can pick what color hair you want, what color skin you want, a lot of variety. So they had different types of skin colors and hair. And I think this is cute to kind of add. This is like, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of small, but she's smiling and I really enjoyed the meal. So I thought it would be nice to just fill in this space here with this little sticker. And then I'm going to leave this here. I don't need to fill up all of the white space. I don't want this spread to look completely cluttered. So since my step count is going to go here, I decided that I am going to put some washi on this side of the page to balance out the washi that's on the left side. And since it's Saturday, I already have my to-do list, I have my task, and then I'm going to put the washi down here. And then I will, actually, no, I don't want to put the washi there because I'm going to put a photo here. So I think what I'm going to do is put the washi up here on Sunday because this is kind of it for me as far as Sunday is concerned. I'm going to go to church and then I have an event. And anything that I need to do on Sunday is already in this task list. So that's kind of my thought process when it comes to planning. So I'm going to put this washi here, and that'll be probably all the washi that's going to go on this spread I really just use it to fill up fill up the space, give the spread some character. Okay. I am going to check off some of the items on my to-do list for today. I set up my November calendar. I really can't believe the year is almost over. It's crazy. Um, and I started doing laundry. So just checking those things off. And my thought process is that for today, my step count will go here. And then what I did is I printed out a photo. This is my dog in her little Halloween costume. There's a little bit of a glare here, yeah, but she has like a little pumpkin bandana, and I'm going to cut this out. I printed this with the Canon Ivy. I've gotten asked a few times what I use to print with. I printed it with this and I just resized the photo. I also got asked how I make them small enough to fit on the spread. And in the app on your phone, you can just resize the photo. So even though the paper is this size, I've shrunken the photo down and I'm going to cut the photo out and I'm going to put this here. And this is just a way that I turn a very functional spread during the week into memory planning once the week is over. And what I like to do is I like to cut around the photo and leave a little bit of white space, kind of like a frame. I hope everyone, if you celebrate, had a happy Halloween. Um, I went to a friend's house and they also have a dog. So it was kind of like a dog Halloween party because then another puppy showed up and they all three of them had a really good time. So I'm going to put this photo here and I might write a little bit about Halloween or just put like Halloween 2025 on the side. I'm not quite sure yet. It's Saturday and I'll come back to look at my spread on Sunday and wrap up everything that I didn't as I get ready to plan for the week ahead. So um, this paper is already sticky. So when you print on it, you don't have to use any adhesive tape. It has a sticking on the back and I'm just going to do this kind of catty cornered so that it um, fits in and kind of takes up that extra space that I have on both Saturday and Sunday. And I'll either write something or I can put some hearts here. We'll see what I do tomorrow once everything is accomplished. I do see this white space that I have here and I'm not sure what I'm going to put in. I might put my bowling scores for this week because I had a really good week of bowling. So we'll see. I'm going to grab my step count for Friday and then I will be right back. Okay, so I am going to put the step count in now. Again, using this Tombow dual tip brush pen. I did 9,967 steps yesterday. Yesterday was kind of wild. Charlie wasn't feeling well. She had a little bit of a upset stomach, so we ended up going to the vet yesterday and spending a lot of money. But that's the puppy life, right? So I didn't get as many steps as usual because I was kind of driving around and not as active on my feet as I usually am. So I just write out my steps. So I'm going to do this on Tuesday and then I trace the steps or outline the steps with the Muji pen. All right, this is voiceover China. Things got really crazy towards the end of this video. The washing machine was really loud. My dog started barking, but for the most part, I am all finished with the spread for Saturday. I will come back on Sunday to show you how I completely wrap up the spread, fill up any white space, check off any task lists, and then work on migrating anything that I didn't accomplish this week into next week. So, yes, I will come back tomorrow, and that will be the end of the weekly plan with me. All right, we are in the final stretch of the Plan With Me video, and in full 100% transparency, I finished up this spread the Thursday, the week after, which is fine. The spread served its purpose and I was functional, and now I'm just going in to add some final details to the spread. just so that when I look back at it, I feel like the spread is complete. So I'm going to go through and check off the things that I accomplished on Saturday. Yep, even though it's Thursday. And now I'm going to add some stickers around the photo of my dog. There are some stars in the Wrong Wrong Bullet Journal sticker book that I thought would look cute. And that's just going to help fill up some of that white space. I thought these were nice without being too overwhelming for the spread. And I think that is the last piece of decoration. And for me, the spread is complete. I did want to show that I filled in that white space with my bowling score. So you can always add little extra tips and bits to your spread. And I want to thank you for spending the week with me. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.